I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight's show is Going Home. And that is because on Monday, we are having a wonderful full moon at 26 degrees of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius does rule travel, but it is conjuncting the ruler of the sign, Jupiter, which is also in Sagittarius and going backward. And so Sagittarius is the traditional ruler of the ninth house of the higher mind and of religion and philosophy and higher education and the courts. And it rules a long-distance travel and foreign countries and large international organizations such as the World Court or the World Bank or the United Nations. And Sagittarius is a somewhat intellectual sign, probably because it does rule higher education. And what it represents is the moral and the legal good, the greatest good for all. And so this is a time when we may be faced with making some choices soon that involves us going home. And it may actually involve going back, for instance, to the land of your ancestors, maybe taking a visit. Or it could involve having something to do with unfinished business, something that may have been due to a choice or a decision that your parents or your grandparents could have made, and now you more or less have to finish it up in one way or another. And the reason why there has to be some sort of going home or going back to things is because there are 5 planets in a harsh T-cross among the mutable signs. And that's because we know under a full moon that the moon opposes the sun. So the moon is at 26 degrees of Sagittarius, and remember Jupiter is there as well, and they are opposing the sun at 26 degrees of Gemini, and Venus is in Gemini as well there. And these 4 wonderful planets, it's too bad they're opposing each other, but these 4 planets are all being squared by a strong Neptune in Pisces. And so this is when there can be a revelation of some sort or truth coming out about a cover-up or something hidden that had been going on behind the scenes. And when the truth comes out, there will have to be some sort of correction being done in accordance with some sort of judicial ruling in one way or another. What will the outcome be of that? Well, it is certainly going to upset somebody's apple cart. And what I mean by that is there could be family plans that could be very disruptive. Or there can be people who are very angry and want to rebel against management or leaders in large corporations or government agencies who want to control them. And so there can be a real upset going on, particularly when the truth comes out and some sort of correction has to be made in accordance with legal precedents. And so that can be a little bit tricky, and we have to sort of watch out for that. And that is because Mars and Mercury are exactly conjunct in Cancer, which rules our emotions and our homes and our families, and it rules endings. And they are opposing Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, which does rule powerful people in large corporations or government agencies, except those 2 planets are retrograde. And these 4 planets are just going head to head, and that's what can cause the disruptions and the rebellions. At the same time, going home can mean a couple of different things. Going home could refer to a return that you make to something that is rather familiar to you, sort of like getting back in the saddle again, or returning to a job that you had done before. Well, that wouldn't be too hard. You'd already know how to do it. Or it can be that going home means that you go back to some sort of duty or role that you thought you were done with. In other words, you were in it for a while until something was completed, and since you thought you were done with it, you could be surprising yourself by finding out that you got to go back and do it just one more time. Or it can be that going home can represent something like a graduation. After all, Sagittarius does rule universities and colleges. And we know in a graduation that as you get close to graduation, you meet with an advisor who checks out every class that you've taken to see if you've completed all the requirements for a degree or a diploma. And if you have perhaps skipped a few steps, that is when you may have to go back and finish something up. And that could be like going home, because you've got to go back and sort of fill in the gaps before your graduation can be final. And so the emphasis is really on getting back to basics. And one reason could be that there are now 3 retrograde planets, Jupiter in Sagittarius and Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. But by the end of this month, there will be 4 retrograde planets, because Neptune in Pisces is about to go retrograde. And then in July, there will be 5 retrograde planets, because Mercury will go retrograde as well. All of which is pointing to the fact that we've got to go home or go back to something in order to make sure that we have followed every single correct step on our journey as we advance through life. And that's why we've got to make sure that everything is done right. And that doesn't mean that you have to go back to the beginning of anything. What it would mean is that you'd probably be going back or returning or going home to something familiar, and probably picking up the pieces and just making sure you've got everything right instead. So that is ahead for all of us, this idea of going home or going back, perhaps to unfinished business, perhaps to having to fill in for something where you've skipped something, or having to make a correction because of steps that have to be in more compliance with legal precedents, or maybe you just have to pick up a duty or role, or even an old job that you've done before. So you can do that. You won't be going to something unfamiliar, you'll be going to something familiar and just making sure you've got everything right first. Okay, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, it's very good that the full moon on Monday and Jupiter and Sagittarius are trining your sun. That means your travel plans could certainly work out pretty well, even if there has to be some sort of revision since Jupiter is retrograde. Still, you could go forward with something like that. But at the same time, Aries, I urge you to make it a quiet week. And the reason why is that there are too many somewhat hostile forces around you. I'm not saying you're causing anything, but if you get in the middle of somebody else's fight, you are going to be pummeled. You will not win it. You won't even come out the same way you got in. And that is because Mars and Mercury are exactly conjunct today in Cancer. Mars is your own ruler, and they are opposing Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, and all 4 planets are squaring your sun sign, Aries. And that means that danger is around. And that means that there can be people holding grudges. And it can be that you yourself may feel rebellious against somebody who's trying to exert their will upon you. And that could be somebody in management or connected to a government agency. But there's nothing you can do about it, Aries. So I just hope you keep a smile on your face this week and try very hard to keep a low profile. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time when I think that you are a little bit freer to do something that you would enjoy doing part-time. In fact, you could do 2 things, both of them part-time, and you'd really love it. And the reason why is that your ruler, Venus, has moved on, and now it is with the sun in Gemini, right ahead of your sun sign. And you have Uranus in your sun sign, which is trining Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. So I don't think that you are necessarily going to be around explosive, angry people, because I think that you are somewhat going to enjoy a part-time effort or something that is familiar to you. You could could go home. You could return to something that is more familiar. You could even make a short move or take a short trip. But once again, it would be to something familiar already. So I think that you're going to do okay this week, Taurus. If you're going home, it is perhaps even to pick up on some unfinished business, maybe make sure that you're doing everything right. You could be returning to something you're already familiar with, but this time you can't skip any steps. This time you have to take every single step in sequence and get something really right before you can advance on your future. So that's fine. This is summertime. I have a lot of confidence in you, Taurus. You can make up for something if you've missed it, and that will put you in an excellent position by the end of the summer when you could be looking at some really wonderful reward. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, the Sun and Venus are in your sign. It's too bad that the full moon and Jupiter in Sagittarius are opposing your sign, and Neptune in Pisces is squaring it. Boy, you still don't know who to trust, Gemini, and that's because people can be sort of talking out of both sides of their mouth. And so you have to trust yourself and your instincts even more. But you are not in the mood to fight with anybody, not with Venus in your sign. You could be very popular, Gemini, and particularly around younger people. And so this is when you should really just sort of mix and mingle with people, try to be more sociable, and also realize that people are seeking you out because they like you. And I think you should just sort of bask in your popularity right now and enjoy it. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, this is a time when you really do have to hold on to your emotions and keep them in check, because your sign rules emotions, and it rules home and family and real estate and endings. And Mars and Mercury are now tightly conjunct in your sign. And remember, Mercury is the planet of the mind and of communication, and Mars is an aggressive, revengeful planet. And so you could be really angry about something, and you could know a lot about it because Neptune in Pisces is trining your sun sign, which means you know what's really been going on behind the scenes. This is not the time to talk about that, even though you could know the whole story and be absolutely right about it, Cancer. I would be quiet right now because Saturn and Pluto, which are both retrograde in Capricorn, are opposing Mars and Mercury in your sign, and they are conjuncting each other as well. It's like two enemies going head to head right now. So if you really are angry about something, you've got to swallow it right now, Cancer, because you'll only get yourself in trouble. You only expose yourself to strong forces. You may feel like rebelling against something, and I think you have a right to, but I don't think that this is the time when you'd better express any rebellious attitude whatsoever. And that is because it could put you in danger instead. It could make you look bad. And that's why you need to try to be just the quietest little angel you can this week and lay low, Cancer. And that's enough for now. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, you know, you're sort of lucky. You're sort of in the right place at the right time. And the reason why is that Venus and the Sun in Gemini are sextiling your Sun, and the full moon and Jupiter in Sagittarius are trining your Sun. So you're going to get the benefit of the lights and of Venus and Jupiter, which can make you popular. And that means, Leo, that if you are wanting to sort of solve a problem or move forward on something, you will have the help of some pretty nice people that could open a door for you. Or you are certainly, if say you're making a move or you're trying to make new friends, one of them would be a very loving, nice friend, and they would really help you out. That's because Venus and the Sun are in Gemini, sextiling your Sun. So if you were going to make some quick or small change in a flexible sort of way, somebody very nice could help you with that, Leo. And if you were going to be learning something new, finishing up your education, maybe graduating, and you know, if you've skipped any steps in your training, now's the time to go back and sort of fill them in and finish things. Because it looks to me like things are opening up for you right now, Leo, and I think you're going to do pretty well. And so, you know, do what's best for you, Leo, and say thank you to somebody who's really going to be quite a big help to you right now. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time when I think that you have really been fooled by somebody, Virgo. And the reason why is this full moon can be quite challenging for you. And that's because there are 5 planets in a harsh T-cross. And they're all harshly aspecting your sign because the full moon and Jupiter in Sagittarius are squaring your sun sign. The Sun and Venus in Gemini are also squaring your sun sign, and Neptune in Pisces is opposing your sun sign. There is somebody around that has really been pulling the wool over your eyes, Virgo, and they have succeeded. You have believed them. But remember, I said that this is a time when we're going home. One of the things we're going home to is that we're getting back to the basics. And when the truth comes out, which will be by the end of June or no later than July, no later than sometime in the next month, you are going to see that somebody really was not telling you the truth. They were hiding something from you. And that's going to have to be corrected. And so, you know, you could be facing some sort of change in a relationship, Virgo. But that is really good. You may not think so at the time, but it's really good that you find out the truth. And it can be that somebody's been trying to sort of bait you or trick you. And if they've been trying to bait you into some sort of trap, at least you will discover that, and you'll be better off for knowing the truth. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, going home can mean that you're shifting positions in one way or another. It's sort of making yourself a little more comfortable in your life. And the reason why you can do that is because the Sun and Venus, your own ruler, are both in Gemini now, and they are trining your sun sign. That can give you a boost, Libra, and it means that there can be people around that could be just casual acquaintances or even perfect strangers that are willing to help you out or want to get to know you better. So you could be benefiting from your popularity with them right now. And the full moon and Jupiter in Sagittarius are sextiling your sun. So you're getting the benefit of the lights and you're getting the benefit of both Venus and Jupiter right now. And so that's good because you can counter that goodness with a dire situation that you could also find yourself in because Mars and Mercury in Cancer are opposing Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, and all 4 of those planets are squaring your sun sign. You might need a little help to get out of a tricky situation, Libra, and it can involve family plans that go wrong. It can involve rebellious, angry, or jealous people, or it can be that there has to be a correction when the truth comes out, and it must be in accordance with the legal precedents. And so, you know, all of these things can be going on, and you can still be very popular, which is nice. So if I were you, I'd take the high road toward new things, Libra, and leave the past behind, because there's a little trouble connected with it, and I think you ought to get out of that if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time when you are certainly going to understand that the truth is coming out. In other words, something cannot be hidden any longer, and that is because Neptune is in Pisces, trining your sun, and Pisces rules things that are hidden behind the scenes. But Neptune is about to go retrograde, and that's when that truth is going to come out. And Mars and Mercury, the planet of communication and of the mind, are in Cancer, also trining your sun. So you need to prepare yourself for the real truth coming out, and that will require a correction in some sort, in accordance with some legal precedent or legal judgment. And so you may be faced with some unfinished business that you have to deal with, and it could involve you going home. maybe after the unfinished business is cleared up, you can be going home, possibly returning to a job that you've already had, or you may be going back to a duty that you've had before or a role that you've played before and having to sort of pick up the pieces and do it again. But at least you'll know the whole truth about something, and that will certainly prepare you a lot better for what you'll be doing in your future. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarius? Well, Sagittarius, the full moon on Monday is in your sign. And it's a rare one because it is conjuncting your own ruler, Jupiter, which is also in your sign. Jupiter is only in someone's sign once every 12 years. And to have a full moon conjuncting it, that's pretty unusual. Jupiter is retrograde, though, or a little weaker. And unfortunately, the Sun and Venus in Gemini are opposing the Moon and Jupiter in your sign, and Neptune in Pisces is squaring those planets in your sign. So you're going to have to separate fact from fiction now, Sagittarius, and you are going to have to rely on the fact that when the truth comes out, something will have to be corrected according to a judicial ruling that says, okay, we gotta correct this now. And you could be involved in that. That might work out all right for you, Sagittarius. There's also the possibility you can just take some long distance trip or return to the land of your ancestors, or even be involved in some unfinished business that your parents or your grandparents might have initiated, but now it's up to you to finish it. So you could have a lot on your plate, but you've got Jupiter in your sign until December 3rd, and that is that's quite fortunate for you, Sagittarius. So I think you will get through something, but it might involve going home first. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time when you need to really watch out for family plans that can be very disruptive right now, since Mars and Mercury in Cancer are closely conjuncting each other and opposing your sun sign where you have Saturn and Pluto, which are also conjuncting each other, but they're retrograde or going backward. And so it means that there can be family plans that are disrupted. There can be a lot of quarrels erupting right now among people that you know, because they want to rebel against power plays made by people at the top, or people that are in a position of authority, either in a government agency or in a community group or in a large corporation. So lots of friction going on around you, and that means that you could also suffer from somebody's jealousy. Mars rules jealousy, and it's opposing Saturn. And so you have to sort of stand tall right now, Capricorn. There are not as many planets in Taurus trining your sun, but Uranus is there trining your sun. And so that means that you can be the happy recipient of some unexpected money at any time. And that could go on for the next 7 years. So why don't you buy a lottery ticket, Capricorn? And otherwise, really lay low right now. You haven't done anything to incur someone's animosity, but you could be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so if you suspect that someone is jealous or vindictive or angry, just leave, Capricorn. You don't need them around you, so just leave. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, it's wonderful that the Sun and Venus are in Gemini because they're both trining your Sun. And that certainly means you can be popular with young people. You can be planning a short trip that would work out really well. In fact, you could meet someone delightful on that trip, so I hope you're traveling. But at the same time, it's all about going home. For you, that might actually mean some sort of travel, or it could mean that you sort of need to graduate now. You need to go back and see in your training for your career if you have skipped any steps, and if you have, you need to finish them up over the summer, Aquarius, because I think you're in a favorable position to make a change. But you need to make sure you're well qualified for it, and that is why you should be really trying to improve yourself in one way or another. That full moon and Jupiter in Sagittarius sextile your Sun, and the Sun and Venus in Gemini are trining your Sun. So take every opportunity to improve yourself and sort of open the window to your future, Aquarius, because it's looking pretty good. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time when you need to get pretty serious about yourself. And the reason why is that full moon on Monday with Jupiter in Sagittarius is squaring your sun sign. The Sun and Venus in Gemini are squaring your sun sign, and Neptune is in your sun sign. And Neptune is about to go retrograde. All 5 of these planets in the harsh T-cross also oppose or square the sign of Virgo, which rules your health. Not only your physical health, but your mental health. And this is a time, Pisces, when you need to quit kidding yourself. That there are challenges in your life, and one of them, I think, concerns your health. You really need to get a checkup now, because something is not the way you think it is, and you need to find out what that is. You need a thorough checkup. It could just be your eyes. Maybe your vision is off a little bit. It could be something else hidden that you have been sort of neglecting. And before you neglect it too much, you really need to go and get it checked out. So the concentration should be on a health checkup right now, Pisces, because it's better to find out something when it's a small problem and not let it get any bigger if you can. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show, read our blog, and hear our podcast on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.